folks. Welcome to the Salesforce DevOps Automation. So my name is Declan Morris. I am a transformation advisor at AWS to PE firms and their portfolio companies. Prior to that, I was 6 years at Splunk, where I stepped into the CIO role after standing up DevOps or CloudOps for Splunk, and prior to that over at Adobe. So I'll be your host today, and I am very fortunate to have three excellent panelists that are going to be talking about Salesforce DevOps automation. Who would have thought there'd be a lot of excitement over Salesforce DevOps automation, but apparently there is. So without further ado, I'm just going to go around the room here, and I will ask Parul to introduce herself to the audience.
Thank you, Declan. Well, I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. In terms of my background, I have about 20 years in technology and done everything from product development to infrastructure engineering. More recently at Uber, I manage all the application platforms. So CRM is part of my portfolio, along with identity. DevOps automation is very close to my heart, so I'm looking forward to sharing some examples and some experiences with the group here.
Fantastic. And next up is Sal.
Hi, I'm Sal Caruso. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Disco. Thanks for inviting me to participate today. I've been at Disco since January 2020 as its first Chief Information Officer. We are based in, headquartered in Austin, Texas, and are a fast growing player in the legal technology space. In my career, this is my second CIO position. I previously worked as a CIO at a healthcare company. And before that, I spent time actually working at Salesforce and in other software companies such as PeopleSoft, Oracle, and Symantec.
Excellent. Great background. Last but not least, we have Kumar with the little hummingbird poking in his ear.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depends on where you are. And first of all, for those of you celebrating the Diwali festival in India, wish you a happy Diwali. And thanks Declan, Parul, and Sal for your gracious time, and really appreciate having you part of this panel. Looking forward to having a conversation. I'm Kumar Shivakula, co-founder and CTO of Opsera, along with Chandra, my co-partner in crime. Is Chandra Ranganathan is a co-founder and CEO as well. So.
Great, thanks Kumar. So for a little bit of fun, we're going to kick it off with a polling question for everybody. So we can get the polling question going. Polling question number 1. So what are your top Salesforce challenges? Okay. Release velocity, too many manual tasks and handoffs, audit and compliance, Sal's favorite topic, or all of the above. So why don't we give folks a chance to pick one of the 4. Well, let's see what the reaction is. Very curious to see the results. So presuming everybody can hit the click, maybe we should just take a look at the results. I'll give it a few more seconds. All right. So, okay. All of the above, of course. Yeah, velocity, too many manual tasks, and audit. So audit didn't get its own dedicated score, but it's interesting. Yeah, certainly release velocity and the task. So great response from the audience, because that's exactly what we're going to cover today. So let's dig into it. Okay, so first question up actually is for Parul. So we're talking about productivity and compliance. And why don't we break down the question to really start first on the productivity side of the house. So why is it so hard? I mean, Salesforce, just hit a button and you're deployed. How hard can that be? And for somebody with your span of control and your responsibility, this is clearly a very important topic. So give the audience some insight on why productivity is so important.
Yeah, well, there's different aspects of productivity as we think about it in the world of IT. Definitely keeping up with the business continues to be a challenge where IT, as I share with my team very often, IT is usually at the receiving end of any business decisions, business changes. And we have to be the first one to sort of deploy anything that will make the business go faster. So for us to have best practices to release some code very quickly and with high quality is extremely important. It is complex because we have a lot of dependency on the business stakeholders to give us information, and it changes over a period of time. So we have very limited time to be able to make those changes in the environment. On top of that, there are, in my world, I have different lines of businesses that my team supports. To have consistency across the different lines of businesses, across different Salesforce orgs, it's also a very difficult thing to do. And there is no room for error when we are deploying this in production. So the complexity is around having many people working on same task and trying to get it done right at the same time. I'm also very cautious and cognizant of how much time my team spends in doing anything manually and looking at opportunities on how we can automate it. Because at the end of the day, if you're thinking about scale, long-term, automation is the key.
Fantastic. So clearly you've got a highly complex environment with little room for error. So I can understand why this is top of mind for you. Now for Sal on the compliance side of the house, again, tell us a little bit more about what are the implications from a compliance perspective, especially if you get this thing wrong and you've got to go to the audit committee and explain why things went wrong.
Yeah, I'm responsible for all of information security at Disco, and we've historically, we've got SOC 2 and we're ISO 27001 certified. And so we have ongoing compliance needs around security and controls around that. But additionally, we went public in July of this year. So as a newly public company, we now are subject to Sarbanes-Oxley and have to focus very much on financial controls and the IT general controls that support those financial controls.
Excellent. Well, next up in the hot seat is going to be Kumar. So I think we're agreed this is actually a big problem for customers, certainly for the two customers that we have here from both a productivity and compliance perspective. So why hasn't Salesforce solved this problem? Why is it so hard to apply DevOps capabilities to your Salesforce environment?
Great question, and I'm sure I'll be a bit biased with my answer, but I'll be honest. So Salesforce, they've tried, and it's not like Salesforce have not solved the problem. They've tried, and they have a concept called change sets. And in spite of that, the teams have been struggling with that because it's not user-friendly, it's not done right, and they've not invested because it's not the core of their value proposition. And the core value proposition is offering the platform, in my opinion, and in our opinion, and they're enabling the customer to do more with the platform. And release management is something that they kept in the back burner. So that's the reason change sets didn't go. And Salesforce is trying to do something, and they're thinking in the similar lines of Opsera, which is great. And we already thought about it. We already put the solution out there, and Salesforce is following the suite. Great to see some large company like that. So the problem with overall release management is many components. It's not just Salesforce. If it is just Salesforce, Salesforce can solve it. There are components outside of Salesforce. You have source code management, you have release management software, ITSM, collaboration software, security, quality, and providing the visibility and making sure that you have a business also has a visibility into what's happening into the IT that Parul mentioned, right? Business through a bunch of things, and IT will be the last one to receive, first one to react, right? So, and when you have this complex environment, it's very hard for a particular vendor to solve it. Somebody has to specialize in this whole thing, and we believe that we can bring that. So we bring the value to the customers. That is what we've been presenting to the customers by giving the choice, by giving the flexibility, enabling, empowering them to make the software delivery faster, better, and secure.
Excellent. So what I'm hearing is it's not just Salesforce. You're actually operating in a highly complex ecosystem with so many different components that go into your tool chain to actually orchestrate all of this. So just curious, Parul, any best practices, any thoughts that you could share with the audience in terms of what you've experienced, what you're observing in your environment that may be applicable to other customers?
Yeah, I think from a DevOps automation perspective, one of the best practices that I would suggest based on my experience is to consider a platform that you can extend across all of your application stacks and even infrastructure stack for DevOps and automation. So if you have a consistent sort of tool set that the entire IT teams or all of IT teams can use, that is a recipe for sort of success long term, because that enables consistent DevOps and CI/CD practices and processes to take place across the entire IT organization. So having standardization is key. In some cases, you may need to make exception to find the best fit for the job, but I would consider them as exceptions, not as a rule. Now, in order for us to show value, so this is something that I have to do in my daily life. In order for us to show value in making this investment, it's also very important to have key metrics that speak the language of the business. So it's important to articulate why having DevOps platform or DevOps practices is helpful for the business to drive their agenda forward. So having key metrics around release velocity, around code quality, and sort of tracking that, and also sharing those metrics with the business stakeholders is key to success, because we do need their buy-in as well as we are rolling out new processes when they are introducing DevOps in the environment.
Fantastic. Thanks for those insights. And before I actually start in on the compliance side of the house, I'm actually going to put Sal on the spot. So you're not expecting this, but in terms of the productivity, the orchestration, and so forth, any best practices that are top of mind for you in the context of what Kumar and Parul have shared that might be beneficial to the audience?
Yeah, I would agree with Puri that our customers are always, internal customers, right, are always wanting us to move faster, right? I keep hearing from our chief revenue officer, it'd be great to see, greater velocity from our technology teams, right? And so any sort of tools that we can use to help us with deployments, managing our backlog, managing how we operate in our sprints are great for that. I'd say we're still a young company, right? We've been growing very quickly. We didn't have a central technology function in the corporate side until I joined, right? And so we've been transitioning from things happening very ad hoc in business units to more of a central technology, technology team. I hate to think about how many Salesforce admins there were before, right? But we've managed to get that number down, right? And so I think what we need to balance is sort of that need for speed to get things done quickly, with also the right level of control and quality to prevent problems from happening.
Interesting. So I'm going to continue to put you on the spot. So when you stepped into your role, had the team already embraced agile lean principles, or is that something that you introduced to the team to help apply that to the Salesforce environment?
So in our product delivery team, on the product delivery side of the house, I'd say they have a very senior team, and so they're using agile principles. Yes. Outside of that, in our business units, our IT infrastructure team, right, was doing operating in sprints, but we had really folks working individually that I had to pull together and start, hey, we're going to have a team Jira board, and we're going to have sprint planning and sprint reviews and stand-ups. So that was all things I had to introduce.
No, that's great, because the point here is that you can be, for example, an Opsera customer, but if you aren't adopting all these frameworks and marrying that to solutions such as Opsera, then you're not going to get the kind of results that you're looking for. So thanks for sharing the insights. And Parul, I'm going to put you in the hot seat as well, so on the spot. Just out of curiosity, for your organization as well, I assume that they were already adopting agile lean principles and weaving that into how they approach their backlog, etc.
Some aspects of it. Like I mentioned, in my world, there is quite a bit of complexity because we support many different lines of businesses. Their revenue generation model is different. Their sales enablement processes, sales operation processes, they're very different across the board. So some aspects of DevOps is something that the team was already working on. So they had the right intentions. Where I helped double down with the team was create a structure. So while processes and frameworks and tools is important, it's also important to have the right skills and the right mix of the team. And investment in this area is required, which is where I helped build a business case to bring more investment to the team and sort of extend the principles and processes across all the lines of businesses. So that is something that I helped move forward with the team.
That's great. Appreciate it. So I think key message to the audience here is, agile lean is not easy, but it is necessary. And you need to marry that with your solutions such as Opsera. You can't rely exclusively on the solution and hope for the best. It's not easy. It's pretty tough transitioning an organization to that. But once you do, then you enjoy the release velocity. Okay, so now we're going to get onto the exciting topic of compliance. It's could be one of those experiences where you'd sooner have a root canal than go to the audit committee, but it doesn't have to be that way. And Sal, I'm going to ask you to share some insights because it's a huge factor, right, in the whole Salesforce DevOps motion, because you do actually have to relay to the audit committee how it is that you've got all the right set of controls over your environment. So what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think, for us this year, it's been, our IPO and preparing to go public has been a really big focus for us. And, knowing that it was coming, we started working with a consulting firm, working as our internal auditors to make sure we had the right level of both financial controls and the IT general controls that we needed to support that. And so that was, I've worked at public companies before, but I have a number of employees that haven't, right? And so Sarbanes-Oxley was completely new to them. And we had the earlier question of how do we move fast, right? We had, I wouldn't call it freewheeling, but we were able to get changes quickly into production without a lot of red tape. With Sarbanes-Oxley, we went through an exercise where we had to determine which systems would be in scope for Sarbanes-Oxley, and those systems that could, implement the financial records, right? And so, of course, NetSuite, our ERP, is in scope. I think a lot of companies will try to have Salesforce not be in scope, but because we're running Salesforce CPQ and that's where our contracting is happening, it very much influences the financials. So it is in scope. And when an IT system is in scope, I would say there's two principal things you have to worry about is access. Who has access to it that could make changes, and how is that being controlled, and is that access appropriate? And the second is around changes or change management. So are changes to the environment being approved? And in our case, either I have to approve the change, or a VP of finance needs to approve the change, especially if it may impact something that could impact the financials. And that was very new for us. It's still somewhat new for us. I think we had an environment where we collaborated and communicated the changes we were making, but didn't have that formal sign-off step. And as we looked to existing tools to put that in place, it's a little bit awkward. The Salesforce admin or developer has a JIRA ticket and has to, add a comment asking me to approve, and I have to go in and say approved. And then that same person, takes the change in the lower environment and makes that change directly in production. And what I worry about, as leader of the function is if someone forgets to get the approval or just makes the change right in production, that would show up as a testing failure or an audit failure in Sarbanes-Oxley, and that could, that could certainly put us at risk for getting the type of audit results we don't want. And so that just indicates to me, hey, this is very manual, and we really need to be looking at automated solutions. And frankly, I'd like to have fewer people that can actually make a change in production, right? And if we could use some automation and I could reduce some of the production privileges, I would just sleep easier, right? Or feel more comfortable that we wouldn't have someone, inadvertently making a mistake or a change they shouldn't.
Yeah, I think it's an important call out to make. I think by and large, the reason why people make changes directly into production is because to actually get a change into production is such a nightmare. Mm-hmm. And if you have an event going on, and by the way, I think both of you will probably appreciate that usually your Salesforce hiccup occurs at quarter end, right? Everybody's trying to get in some deal activity and so forth, and you've got an embargo on your environments. You're not allowing any changes to go through, but something does happen. And it's really important that you highlight, Sal, from an auditor's perspective, that you've got to provide the evidence, mm-hmm. right? If there's a change made, then you need a solution to go to versus you start a flurry of emails trying to get people to recall what they actually did on a given day at a given time, and the change that occurred and where it occurred and so forth. Mm-hmm. So I think a solution that actually provides you the evidence, such as Opsera, is actually critical. So that's why, while compliance isn't all that exciting, it is a critical component that you actually have to answer to, especially to the audit committee. So, Parul, your thoughts on the compliance space, and given the scale and size of your operation, what are your thoughts and what are your challenges?
Yeah, I agree with Sal. It's extremely important for us to have the right type of evidence at the right time, to the point that you were making. So we are always constrained for time at the end of every quarter and at certain points in the year. It's a mad scramble to get all the evidence together. And in some of the cases that I have seen, we're still doing this in spreadsheets. So getting away from that, because it's very manual, and we have to wait for people to then go approve all the access manually. And if we don't do it at a certain point of time at the end of the quarter, then we'll be in big trouble from a compliance perspective. So those are some things that I would love to get away from, and then move. My team spends hours sometimes doing these access checks and controls and remembering to do it at the right time. And getting that automated just makes life very easy. Having auditability into providing that evidence just makes life very easy. And it then connects back to the productivity piece. How do we want our teams to spend time? Because from my perspective, I want them to do the work that excites them. This is something that can be easily automated from an evidence perspective. So why not make the investment there?
So I'm actually going to put, and thank you, Parul, I'm going to put Kumar on the spot. So you've heard from two critical customers, frankly, are companies that are evaluating your product, right? So what's your response in terms of, hey, here's what we thought about it from a product perspective and why the auditability is so important? What are you hearing from your customers?
Yeah, I think, thank you. The great thoughts, and I'm just absorbing and processing what Sal and Parul are talking about. They covered the whole gamut in the compliance aspect, because what they're talking about is real world problems and pain points that they see on a day-to-day basis. And we all know that. We come from the IT background, some of us, right? So we know that SOX is it's not an event. It's something that you have to follow those things because it's a regulatory thing. But we also know that 90% of the challenges and issues that you see in the production are caused by changes. Reason why they put so much control around change management is that how you are making the changes, whether it's been validated, tested, approved, and you have a traceability. And we talked about traceable audit and evidence and access, but also traceability. How do you go back and traceability? And Parul talked about having a lot of people using the spreadsheets and doing manually. Some areas, I don't know exactly, I can't speak to the company that she's representing right now, but generally speaking, most of the companies, they spend about 90% of the time I'm talking about the DevOps construct, right? With release management, 90% of the time in providing the evidence during the quarter end. It's a scramble. It's a nightmare. They have to log into ServiceNow, Jira, and Microsoft Teams or Slack, and look at the events and look at the change management, change ID, tie back to release and see who has done it. So given that we have that background, we know what it takes to do it. we automated the whole process in terms of like, if you integrate, we natively integrate with Jira, ServiceNow, and we also go back in time and able to see the evidence as well. From the product standpoint of view, not just release management of Salesforce. That is definitely something we have to do it. But in doing so, how can we make the customer life easier? How can we enable them to do the compliance task easier? It should not be like afterthought. It should be part of the design, just like security by design. Compliance has to be by design in terms of release management. What we've done is we integrated all these pieces, and we can also give the opportunity for customers to go back in time, enterprises, and see what happened. They can give read-only account instead of people providing the evidence. They can give read-only account to the auditors. Go have fun with all the changes that are done, and go look it up. And you want to compare last week to this week, or you want to compare last month to this month, or you want to understand on January 23rd, 2020, you want somebody made a change, you want to go back and check it out. Feel free to go and check it out as well. So we give the level of granularity and visibility across the board.
That's actually huge, especially for the auditors coming in. If you just say, hey, you know what? Oh, you want to see what you need the evidence? Fine, go here. Here's all the reports. Go at it.
Yep.
That actually is huge, because to Parul's earlier point, you know what? It's a real sinkhole for talent. Your talented team do not want to be going through audit reports and digging through that and digging through log files and all that kind of joyous experience. So let's talk a little bit about you know, the actual tool chain itself. Back to you, Kumar, because you know what? There's all these solutions out there. You just stitch them together and away you go. But you actually saw something that was lacking in the market, because it's something more than just saying having a right set of tools. So tell us a little bit more about, you know, your thoughts in regards to solving this problem, which we've now established is actually quite complex in nature. It's no longer just hit the easy button and you've got your Salesforce deployment all hunky-dory. So tell us a little bit more about what it is that drove you to this.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. But first of all, I want to thank you, Declan and Parul and Sal, for sharing your thoughts. And again, a lot of the people, we do share the same challenges and issues, but coming together and sharing with the community and doing it and openly, really appreciate that. Okay. So given that we are at the time, I'm going to just share a couple of slides followed by the quick demo, and feel free to interrupt, and any questions are there in the attendees, feel free to stop us and ask questions as well. So give me 1 second, I'm just going to share, and obviously this is the technological challenge for me always with Zoom and with multiple windows, finding the right window to share. So obviously we've been talking about this then, right? So we have Opsera. So we have we covered the Salesforce automation, but let's take a step back and talk about it, where we are in the DevOps journey. Like, there are a couple of challenges we see mainly in the companies and enterprises. There are a plethora of tools in the market, and not just Salesforce in general, and it's a code. From the code commit to code deploy, there are about 8 to 9 categories, and each of them we have a SDLC, SaaS applications, and COTS applications, infrastructure as a code, as Parul mentioned. And how do we solve the problem that cuts across all of them and be able to provide the best-in-class solution without compromising the quality and security of all of them? So given that we lived through the pain and we wanted to have working with other customers, we want to build a solution. Opsera is a white box orchestrator, no-code DevOps orchestration that can help you speed up releases and reduce the risk with respect to your compliance and security, and also provides a visibility. How we are solving this problem? And we took a 3-pronged approach. And as you can see on the left-hand side, there's a concept called tool chain and tool registry. And now you bring your own tools, or you can use your tools that have been offered by Opsera, your choice of tools. Like, we will not compromise your choice and flexibility. We want to protect your investment by also, like, while we're protecting investment, we want to enable you guys to build the pipelines in seamless fashion with no-code pipelines. And you don't have to worry about learning, oh, how do I do my Salesforce pipeline? How do I learn my infrastructure pipeline? How do I learn my SDLC pipeline? You don't have to do anything. You just follow that process, and the no-code pipelines with microservices architecture, you can easily inbuilt overlay the security quality. We talked about it. That includes your static code analysis, dynamic code analysis, threat vulnerability management, Vault to keep the passwords and the secrets and certificates. That's another thing which we didn't talk about it. Like, a lot of people put a lot of clear text passwords in release management. It's convenient for them. So you want to hide them so that you can protect them as well. And then seamlessly integrated with quality. That includes unit testing, integration testing, and performance testing. How we can provide the capability for them to use it across multiple use cases. once you have a plumbing, once you have a freeway to drive your car, you want to put some kind of guardrail so that we don't want people go off the rock and make mistakes, right? We want to give some signs and make warning signs and alert them. As part of that, that's where visibility comes in. And we curated about 100 plus KPIs, took the inspiration from NIST, Department of Defense and DORA, and we could put together metrics across 6 different dimensions: planning, pipeline, quality, security, operations. DORA put together 4, and Opsera overlaid, used that inspiration, but we put together other things which can help them improving the velocity, improving the security posture, quality posture, reducing the risk as well. So on top of it, we talked about audit and compliance. We also give you that you can go back in time and understand the contextualized logs and reports as well. That's a Opsera summary. And value proposition for us, for customer, and the way we offer. And by not thinking about the tools and tool management lifecycle, you can focus on building your code and not worry about integration code, blue code, and you can deploy things faster. By having the quality, security, and governance aspect, you can deliver better software. Having the visibility into it, you can do more with less. You can turn the knobs whenever you want. And in terms of like what works well, what is not working well. And obviously, like, it's one unified platform that can cut across multiple use cases. So coming back to the Salesforce, just going to now that we gave a little bit of overview. There are multiple things that Opsera differentiates from the rest of the pack, and also how we are enabling the customers. The first and foremost thing is, as you guys see, the recent announcement from Salesforce and the Salesforce Dreamforce conference, they're also like moving away, because Salesforce is no longer just one big CRM system. They have 6 or 7 ecosystems like Tableau, Slack, and you have a Heroku platform. You have they continue to acquire more companies. And it's not easy for them to continue to rely on one big platform. They're also moving into source code as well. So which we already thought about it. We already have a source code integration. We support Bitbucket, GitLab, and GitHub. We also give the flexibility while supporting the source code as a single source of truth. And we can also give the support for people to have move the components and packages, permissions, and profiles, and so on and so forth from Git to Salesforce, Salesforce to Salesforce, and Salesforce to Git as well. We talked about it the big chunk of the time in the webinar today, how we are enabling the customer to automate the change management approval process through we integrate to the native integration to ServiceNow. We have a bot available in Jira, Atlassian Marketplace, Jira, and we also have Slack, bot available, Microsoft Teams integration. Now that we talked about it, the overlay on top of that, but coming back to the Salesforce, we allow the Salesforce admins and Salesforce engineers, release managers to create the pipelines faster and also move the components, packages, metadata, and permissions profiles in a matter of minutes. And you can trigger these things through webhook, or you can also do the same, some of the tasks within the Salesforce, like package destruction, whatnot. In doing so, we also integrate with your quality security. We have native integration with Selenium, and also integration SonarQube and CodeScan. And we talked about having 100 plus KPIs that cuts across all of them. And we also support the profiles and permissions along with, and we also give the native integration to backups and recovery. Because one of the things that we talked about, change management, another aspect that comes along with operations, you're making a change in production, you want to be in a position to recover when something doesn't go well, because not everything goes according to the plan. We all know that the plans are there, and as long as they work. If they don't work, we have to have a plan B. So that's where like plan B can invoke through Opsera in a matter of minutes as well. That's a quick summary of Opsera Salesforce solution. All you have to do is bring your own Salesforce organizations, Git repository, just give us a couple of hours time. We'll help you automate end-to-end release management. That give you peace of mind, improve your velocity, improve your agility, and also reduces the risk, improve your compliance aspect.
You know what, you made one particular point, which I think is very important. To actually demonstrate the capabilities, it's a couple hours worth of effort. It's not this multi-day, multi-week, multi-month effort. Yeah. Because for pretty much everybody that's from the audience, we don't have time. We really do not have time. So the fact that you can actually demonstrate the capabilities within a couple of hours is pretty significant. So what we're going to do here is, if you stop sharing, or if you got more materials, I want to see that. Okay, go for it.
Just 2 seconds, 30 seconds. This is something as one of the customer that we approached to us last year, and the leading cybersecurity software company. They've been struggling. They had some solution, they cobbled it together, and mostly manual, semi-manual, and then sometimes release goes, sometimes release doesn't go well, and then sometimes it takes hours and days. And no integration to a lot of the things. with Opsera, what we help them is we reduce all the manual effort and we enable the Salesforce engineer to do the work from end to end, soup to nuts. No need to engage with anybody else in between, like no DevOps engineer, no like release manager and whatnot. Salesforce engineer developer can go all the way. If you want to control and put the gates, they had an option to do it. Using Opsera solution, they reduce the cost about 50% and also increase the productivity significantly about up to 75% and across the board. Now, not only that, they acquired a company recently, they're able to integrate the Salesforce consolidation using Opsera platform, which was a use case, something we discovered through their eyes, and we're going to use it from now on. If you have anybody who's out there trying to consolidate a Salesforce organization, metadata, component and packages, Opsera has a capability. We discovered through customer. We're happy to work with you.
That's great. Thanks, Kumar. And it's nice to see you started with a small company that's generating $2.5 billion in revenue. And then you'll start to work your way up. So that's the way to do it. So why don't we do this? Why don't we jump to our next polling question, if you don't mind? So if we can get that up there on the big screen, of course, what is the DevOps maturity level in your organization? And this actually is very, very important because we recognize the fact that everybody is at a different point along this whole DevOps journey. And recognizing that is important. And you've got collective knowledge from this group here that if we can somehow positively impact and maybe take or help you eliminate some of the speed bumps along the way, that'd be great. So love to get everybody to put in their vote. And let's see what it comes back with. So give folks a little bit of time. No DevOps, basic, intermediate, mature. Okay. We all know where we want to be. So let's see. Have we got the votes in? I think we have. Oh, okay. Fascinating. Okay. So thank you for your participation. This is a very interesting readout. So a quarter really have no DevOps capabilities. And yeah, as I like to say, if this stuff was easy, everybody'd be doing it today, but it's not. So it's a really tough transition to make. Basic, great to see that there's intermediate, almost 40% there. And other comments? We get those private. All right. So thanks again for your participation. So Kumar, why is it so hard to do this? I'd assume that if you were to do this on your own, you've already mentioned that there's so many people involved, Salesforce engineers, PMs, etc. So the level of effort then would be quite significant without these types of solutions. Fair to say? Yeah, it is. I think, can you do it? Yes. The question is, it's build versus buy model always comes into the play. And is it the core competency of the customers and core competency for the people? And you want to focus on enabling the business and make things faster for them and make sure that you're compliant with it, as opposed to continue to tinker with the solution that may not have any value. In fact, it comes in the way of doing the job. So in looking at the current digitization, digital transformation, I think you should find an enabler, somebody that can enable your business to run faster, as opposed to continue to stick in the lab and try to figure out a way to come up with a solution. There's nothing wrong with it, but if it is a core, we recommend to do it. But if it is not a core, it's a challenge. You have to have an expertise in multiple systems, multiple tools, and you have to write the code. Whatever the glue code and integration code, there is a survey out there. There are about 20% of the glue code to 25% of the glue code that is written in the last couple of years have not seen light at the end of the tunnel by the customer. So guess where it is? It is sitting in the GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and nobody is seeing that. So because it's not in the customer hands, because people are writing that to write other code. So we can save that much time and effort to all the customers. Got it. And I'd love to get some thoughts from Parul. What are your thoughts in regards to the fight for talent? How do you keep your engineers engaged? How does a solution such as this, how would this help you in terms of thinking more broadly about all the challenges that you've got to juggle, because you never have enough resources for the backlog that you're dealing with?
Yeah, it helps in a couple of ways. One, it's always exciting for engineers to work in an environment where they can do something new. So having platforms that enable DevOps and automation enables them to build faster. So that I found is something that's very attractive to the team when I'm trying to hire talent. The second thing is nobody wants to really spend their time in manual tasks. And that also creates introduction of new roles like release managers in the environment. So it's a very easy offset for me to sort of understand where I want to increase the skill set in my team, what type of tools I can bring in. That then takes away more of the operational cost from the team. It's a matter of motivating the team to focus on the right areas, which is how can you build more cutting edge solutions and technologies for our stakeholders.
And I've no doubt the business appreciates that because you can get your limited resources focused on the backlog. How about you, Sal? What are your thoughts in terms of what you're dealing with here and solutions that could help you?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a number of manual steps today, right? We have to, especially around testing, the ability to have more testing automation. We have some automated integration tests that have to be run for every deployment, but again, it's a manual step. It could be missed. We have approvals that are needed. It'd be great to build that into a workflow. As part of a pipeline. We have local tests that need to be run, and so there's just a lot of time and effort and chances for things to be missed with every deployment that would really benefit from putting together a pipeline like this.
Appreciate it. All right.
Yeah, I just want to just add a point.
Yeah.
I think Parul and Sal covered two important aspects. One is around you want to enable your team to do the things that excites them, right? Not necessarily stay in the same thing and doing the manual stuff, even though they don't admit it. And as the leaders, we have to recognize and see how we can give the tooling that they needed. That's one aspect. And sometimes it comes naturally from the team. Sometimes you have to, as a leader, we have to recognize that. I'm glad that you both are thinking and try to provide the tool, whether we're not talking just Opsera in general, and we're talking about in the current market, right? You want to challenge them, give the opportunities for them to learn and grow as well. Yeah. That's part of the DevOps culture too. So,
yeah, absolutely. And before we do the demo, I want to actually fire up the last polling question, because what we've established here is that, hey, there really is value in solutions such as Opsera, because to try and replicate what the team have built, it's a lot of time and effort. It's not necessarily the kind of thing that's going to excite your engineering team. So simple polling question: do you actually have an automation platform? And by the way, could be yes, no, considering, or not anytime soon. And of course, you probably have people that have been building their own homegrown platform, right? Trying to stitch it all together. And that's not your core competency. That's a lot of work behind the scene. Very, very hard. So let's see, give folks a chance to hit. And then let's see what the results are before we cut over to the demo. Okay. The suspense is killing us. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. So we have yes, no, considering one, and no, not anytime soon. And of course, that one could be, hey, you're doing your own orchestration behind the scene. That is your own internal platform. So fantastic. Okay. Without further ado, let's jump over to Kumar. Let's do the demo.
So I'm just going to take a few minutes and just walk you through the demo, live demo, and this is going to be interesting. And
great. Now, to prove it's a live demo, you've got to break something.
I try not to, for the sake of audience benefit. And yeah. So as we talked about it, right? Opsera is a unified orchestrator and DevOps orchestration platform, wherein which we enable you guys and empower you to make the software delivery faster, better, and secure. In the context of this particular webinar, we're going to focus on Salesforce and only Salesforce. And any questions on anything else, we're happy to take it afterwards. So what you see is like all you have to do is, we talked about it, bring your own Salesforce organizations, and you just get your source code repository. And first and foremost thing what you need to do is, once you register to Opsera, you have a tool registry, you register your Salesforce here, organizations, whatever the organization that you have. Once you register, and you will be able to see this information. You can also have RBAC mechanism in each organization. You can lock it down, and you can also have a connection details using connected app. Once you have, once you configure that, you will be able to test the connectivity. And then once you complete that, you can bring your GitHub or GitLab, or this. I'm going to pick some examples here. We have many of them, but I'm just going to take, let's say GitHub, right? You can have many of them. I'm just going to take this particular example, and you can also lock it down, the RBAC mechanism, this source code. This is all like basic plumbing work that you're doing. And you can have a way to integrate with your own vault or bring your own vault. And we also give the vault to each customer. And whenever we onboard a customer, there is a tenancy. The tenancy will have your own cluster. Within that, we have a database and log aggregator and the vault. You'll be able to store them in an encrypted format. You can also see the information, and you can see the two-factor authentication. You can also see the usage of the pipelines as well. So the idea is, once you complete the basic integration of the source code and your Salesforce organization, you can start creating the pipelines. And I'm just going to go to the pipelines here. And once you go to pipelines, and you have a way to look at some of the pipelines, and we can do it through templates. We also give the templates in the catalog, and you can build the templates. And also you can build the pipeline that we already have, or you can build the pipeline yourself, or take the template that we have. I'm just going to take one example here and then show you that. The pipeline concept is very simple and easy to use. And we talked about drag and drop and microservices architecture. There are simple things anything with pencil icon, you can edit that. There is a smart tag concept, which will come handy for your audit and compliance, along with visibility, also for your the troubleshooting purpose. And you also have access tools again here. And this is where Sal talked about it. Access, how do you make sure that you have proper access? How do you make sure that you show the evidence along with it? The reason we do that, you can do by the group, and you can do by the individual user. You can give the various permissions as well. This will be very useful when you have large teams, or when you have multiple teams using them. And once you have the basic construct in place, you also have a scheduler that you can use its scheduler as well to run the pipelines. And basic pipeline is you can have a way to create the package and validate the package, have an approval gate, and you can have a backup and recovery, unit testing, and approval gate deploy. All these things can be configured very easily, and you can go and integrate with your Slack. We talked about it, Teams, which will be come handy for approvals. No need to do manual approvals, and you can have a Jira integration. It automatically opens a request and close the request and append the request as well. And we have a service now with respect to incident change management. And with that, you'll be able to see the end-to-end view. And then you can also run the pipeline. I'm just going to reset this pipeline for now. I'm just going to start the pipeline. There are multiple ways you can execute the pipeline. You can do it through scheduler, automated way through webhook, or through manual, or through like a previous XML that you have. And then you can also do the bulk import aspect as well. For the interest of the demo, I'm just going to pick some examples. Let's say your sprint started in September, and it's picking the long sprint here. And I just wanted to select two components that you have, Apex class and Apex component. There are 180 plus components here. There are a lot of dependencies. As soon as you hit the button, we will be able to fetch the data for you, and then enable you to build the package.xml. And by selecting the few things and applying some filters, we try to make it as intuitive as possible, so that Salesforce admin and Salesforce engineer release manager understand the flow, understand where the component that is selecting, how they're making changes to the production, right? In this case, I'm just selecting the file ID. I want to equals with something. You can select various things and apply the rules. And if you want to apply more rules, you can easily do that as well. So as soon as you select those three components, you can select the files, and you have a unit testing option. You can have a full-blown unit testing, selected unit testing, and all of them are, again, easy click, and you'll be able to go through that. As soon as you select the unit testing aspect, and you'll be able to go through the package.xml, and you will see what are the components you selected. You can see them before you push the button to the next stage. You can see the component count, and you can also see the unit test classes, or what are the unit test classes selected for that. And once you hit the proceed, it goes to the pipeline, will go to that. But now I'm just going to cancel it. I'm going to show one of the run count. One of the thing that we've been asked, one of the customer that we working, they gave a feedback, and as a result, what we've introduced is a summary report for all the things, any step that you have validation. When validation happens, and who ran the pipeline, and owner name, and components, how many components passed, unit testing, code review, what is the request ID? You can take this request ID and use it in Salesforce and be able to get the information very quickly. And same thing with deploy. If you go back to the deploy and you want to understand what happened in the deploy, there's a report as well. You can see the same similar report as well. Again, these pipelines can be easily copied. You can copy them, clone them, and you can transfer the ownership. And this is where the compliance and other aspects comes in. Now that we talked about basic construct and how you can do the pipeline, I want to just quickly show some features like some of the audit related things. You want to go back and give the permission to somebody. You will tell them, okay, you ran a pipeline, you want to see what happened. You can give the access, and then that pipeline, they can see the package.xml, how many components that passed, who ran the pipeline, what are the steps involved. You can easily upload them as a PDF and send it to their auditors, and auditors can download the information. They can compare between two builds. They can see that. You can see the view pipeline immediately. They can do the same thing with the logs. And once you have the logs, you can easily troubleshoot the problem as well. The last one, which is the insights. We curated about 100 plus KPIs, and you can customize this dashboard. There's a smart tag concept. You can easily customize this pipelines, the insights in such a way you can create, as soon as you create the tags, apply the filters. You can do it by organization, by sprint, by release, by product, or by BU. And you can apply the tags, and you can select the various date ranges, and you can get the information. Not only this information, you want to provide intelligence around it. You can easily provide that. You want to understand why this pipeline failed. You can click on that. You'll be able to get to that root cause of the problem very quickly. So that is the power we want to offer to the customer, not just provide the information, intelligence, and also make it as an action.
All right. So thanks, Kumar. Nothing I enjoy more than reading XML just before bed. So thanks for sharing that with us. And all the various rules and flows and templates. I mean, the templates are pretty important to call out there. So you're not starting from scratch. You can actually build on it. Okay, we have a few minutes left here. So I actually want to hit some questions here. Parul, this one for you. So when we think about it, we've been talking a lot about Salesforce DevOps automation, but given the scope of your role, and the same for you, Sal, and what other business applications do you see falling into this kind of platform solution?
I'll talk about applications in general. So in the world of IT now, the way IT plays a role in customizing the applications, there's always a sort of an enhancement view that we have to take on applications, because not all features as they're built work right and exactly for the environment as we want them to. So I extended across all of my application stack, not just business application. In the world of business application, the other apps would be things like MuleSoft, that is important for integration, or Exactly, that is used for sales compensation. I wanted to extend it to other application platforms. So even in the enterprise apps world, in my space, I can extend it to contract lifecycle management type tools. And if I take it further in the world of identity, I can extend it to applications like SailPoint, where there is a need for us to customize code or custom build code to make the features work exactly right for the organization. So I would say it can work across many application stacks. When I was talking about the consistent or sort of standardized platform for DevOps, ideally I would extend it to the infrastructure space as well, because there is also, because we're using AWS, we do a lot of development in-house, or any organization would. So extending the DevOps platform to infrastructure is also possible and important.
Fantastic. And Sal, how about you? I mean, a lot of commonality with what Parul outlined here?
Yeah, I would agree with the extension into infrastructure for sure, certainly for any of our custom applications. You know, as far as our sort of package SaaS applications where we might be customizing, I think Salesforce is top of the list. Probably next down would be NetSuite, perhaps, although we don't have quite as much change happening there.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. And I just want to make a comment here. Vern, good call out. Observability is something that's missing from almost all DIY DevOps solutions. I could not agree more. For those of us that have lived in the DevOps world, at times it's like hair on fire, and you're trying to just script your way out of it. And observability is a capability that I don't believe is truly appreciated across many, many organizations, and not just the DIY, but across so many. So let's just check on time here. Oh, we're coming up on time, folks. And let's see. I just want to, again, top of the hour, I want to just go around, thank each and every one of our panelists here. So Parul, Sal, Kumar, thank you so much. Behind the scene, Susmita, thank you so much for keeping us all on track and helping with the polling questions. But most of all, thanks to the audience. I mean, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend a little bit of time with us. Hopefully you've got a flavor for what Opsera is about, and more broadly about what it is that this space can offer.